On facts, you know, they saw the video. We saw the aggressor, and you know, I believe we're happy with how it turned out.
And he, obviously, by what they ruled, a little bit more culpable than you.
Yes, and I think that's very apparent, you know, in the fact that he, you know, he came forward and everything else. So, yeah, I believe that it was fair. I believe that it was good, and I do community service every Tuesday and Thursday at my kids' wrestling program. You guys can wrestle for me.
Anything you want the public to know after this?
Yeah, you know, I apologize for my part in the action. It is not who I am. I think a lot of people know me before that event, and now the lights are just a little bit brighter, and I need to carry myself in the way that I have for 20 competitive years.
Dan, you weren't asked about this in there, but there was something that happened at the end of that brawl that was shown on the footage that I wanted to ask you about, because it seemed like, you know, you didn't get control of your emotions right away, which you threw a shoe in a crowded area where you could have hit a fan in the face or in the head and everything. And, you know, I guess the thing that I would ask is, how do you get your emotion back, you know, get your emotions under control after something like that happens, you know, if you're in a tense situation again, because that would show that you weren't able to do it.
You know, I think you got to just stop and take a second. You know, in that moment I didn't. You know, the one thing that I think I've been consistent is that I do know that I took part in what happened. I do know that the incident with the shoe wasn't right. But I don't. You know, we don't have street fights. We fight in the octagon, and in the moment that there was a street fight, I wasn't able to carry myself in the way that I do generally. And, I mean, that's pretty much the base of it.
And then when you referenced Joe Williams, what did you guys do? You said you talked to Joe.
You know, yeah, I called Joe. And Joe's a big Harley guy, so I made sure I sent him a package, some shirts and some you know, some Harley stuff. Maybe like a coffee mug. If he was gonna be sitting in that hospital, you know, maybe I'll give him a coffee mug.
John said on Twitter that the 40 hours of community service here in Vegas is going to have a big impact on his camp. How appreciative are you that you can do it in San Jose?
Well, I mean, it's great. You know, I need to be training. I'm already training. You know, I'm getting ready for the biggest fight of my life. This is everything to me. I work hard to become the champion. It's good because what's community service? You know, I mean, I do community service every week. You know, I'm with my kids. I'm with wrestling kids at 2 different programs for an hour on Monday, hour and a half on Tuesday, an hour and a half on Wednesday, hour and a half on Thursday, and an hour and a half on Friday. I actually make time to go and coach youth wrestling, 5 days a week. You know, so what's community service? You know.
And the bullying aspect, did you realize that carried with you through your life up until this fight?
I've had some incidents that it's embarrassing to even speak to this day, where it's like you don't even know how a kid can be so scarred, and a kid can be so afraid to defend himself. But that's what was instilled in me for so long. So even now, if you look at the Bigfoot Silva fight, when he got in my face and they took pictures afterwards, you can see I'm making a face at him like, look at this guy. You know, it's just like, it affects me. It really does affect me when I feel like someone's trying. It just takes me back to Louisiana as a 7, 8-year-old kid.
Dan, was your wrestling school a for-profit business, or do you do that as a community?
Well, I actually don't get paid. I pay my coaches because I have a couple guys that help me because I have so many kids now I can't do it alone. But I make no money. Ask Bob. Bob said this for him makes no financial sense, but I do it all the time because I find joy in it. Last year my team got to rank #1 in the state of California, and that meant something to me. You know, I took 10 kids to the state tournament, had 3 state champions, and 7 of them stood on the podium. Took 5 kids to the national tournament in Reno, and 3 were in the top 3. So those types of things mean something to me. So yeah, I do it for nothing. I don't make any money on it at all.
You've been pretty clear that you felt in the follow-up interviews that you were being honest while John was kind of being fake about everything with his contrition. Do you think it was unfair that they kind of called you out for stuff that you said and kind of let him slip just by what you consider to be lying?
Well, I mean, truth is he actually went in there today and he took responsibility. I mean, I don't know what else he could have done, but he was honest. You know, Again, a lot of emotion. Yeah, I mean, you say stuff, but again, it's who I am. What you see is what you get. I'm not going to do anything for the media. I'm not going to put on a different face. I'm going to be Daniel, and this has got me where I am today.
You sat in there and watched them kind of eat up everything he said, and I think most people kind of thought he was being honest in there, when he was talking to them.
I felt like it.
Was there any thought that you had of, well, maybe I'll just go in there and be like, oh, I'm so sorry, instead of presenting a defense like you did?
No, I mean, initially I was like, man, I need to take responsibility for my part. That's who I am. Regardless of what Wade says or what Bob says or Dwayne says, I'm going to take my responsibility for my part, and I think I did that. But at the same time, I'm not going to take full responsibility for something that I don't think it didn't have to happen.
Does this make you more determined in the fight coming up in January?
I don't need that to make me actually want to win that fight. What makes me want to win that fight is 25 years of competitive training, 25 years of competition, and getting to fight the #1 pound-for-pound guy in the world. That's what makes me motivated. That's what makes me train hard every day. I've been needing to sneeze for the last 5 months. I've been fighting it. But that's what motivates me. This is just, I had to miss a day of practice, which kind of sucks. But other than that, it's fine.
You said that you don't feel you have as much culpability in the event as John did. But the fines, the punishment is not that different. I mean, financially, the punishments are the same. It's just the
community service
is different. Do you feel that you got a fair shake in there?
Well, even though you said that they kind of ate up everything he said, but I mean, what did it gain him? I mean, $50,000 and 40 hours of community service. That's actually going easy on him. What if they didn't like what he said? Then what would have happened? So I just think it's fair. It's what it is. I just didn't want to pay $30,000. I just didn't want to pay like a ridiculous amount, and I think it's fair. I did play a part. So acknowledgement is probably the biggest thing, that they know that I wasn't as much as fault as he was.
It also seemed earlier in the day all you could have said is, hey, it was all fake, and then just would have been, can walk out of here scot-free.
Well, he wasn't here for disciplinary action. He actually was here to just talk, which took forever.
You said you felt that the term bully gets thrown around sort of haphazardly nowadays. What did you mean by that exactly?
Just like a lot of times, man, a lot of people just talk about bullying when sometimes, it's not. Sometimes kids tussle on the playground, but bullying is where you can't walk down the street without that one kid continuing to always make your life miserable. You go home and they're on your Facebook page messing with you like some of these little girls are dealing with nowadays.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. Like it's not a two kids were tussling on the playground and then they go home to their separate lives, come back the next day and they're friends. It's that same kid follows you all the time and tries to make your life just hell. That's his goal, is to surround you and pick on you and fight you and mess with you. And a lot of times, we got to be careful, because sometimes, we just got to be very careful. I did an anti-bullying thing before, and you can see that it's a real issue, bullying. We have to be careful to distinguish and make the distinction between bullying and actually things that aren't at that level. I was bullied. Like I actually got bullied. I know what bullying is.
Sure.
I know walking home from school and getting hit for no reason and not defending myself, because it was instilled in me to actually take it, just not. Because the only thing that was going to happen was get beat up worse. So I know what it is, and that's why when I learned to defend myself, I just never stopped.
Daniel, what's the balance? Because you said, at one point you didn't, you would do it again as you saw that you're defending yourself, and then there's the balance of appropriateness.
Yeah. Well, you have to find it. I don't want my son to go through what I go through. I mean, I see it already. He's a 3-year-old kid, you know, and you see kids push him down and they mess around with him. I don't want that fear to be instilled in him. So I would want him to stand up for himself, but I also need to teach him that it can be done at an appropriate time, that it can be done at an appropriate time, and there's different ways of actually doing things. We didn't need to be fighting it. Not me and John Jones. It was too important to fight to begin with to be going through that.